Hey everybody, I wanted to give you an update on my visit to a synagogue. I was invited by a synagogue in LA to come speak to them, and the reason I was able to go there and speak is because of what all we are doing as a church body and you online that have contributed to our Bless Israel Fund to help Israel in their war against these terrorists, whether dealing with Hamas or Hezbollah or Iran or the Houthis. You have partnered with us and have donated to Bless Israel, and we've bought them, plate carriers for their bulletproof vests. We've bought them helmets, boots, all kinds of things, jackets and stuff that the reservists need. And that's opened a lot of hearts, not only in Israel, but it's opened the hearts of many people here in California, in not only Bakersfield, but LA, because other Jewish people hear what we're doing for Israel. We even provide security for a local synagogue here. And of course, you guys are contributing to this. And so you're a part of this. So what ends up happening is these doors get opened. They're curious. They want to know, why do you love us? Why everyone in the world hates us? Why are you helping the IDF? Everyone says, we're evil and all this other stuff, but yet this narrow sliver of Christians loves us and is doing things for us and is coming to Israel and showing their love. And it strikes a curiosity in them of why. And it led to me being invited to go speak at a synagogue to tell them why and tell them all that we're doing and all the money we have raised for Israel and all the stuff and supplies we're sending over there. And that's because of you guys contributing. So you're part of this. So I wanted to share this with you. So I get invited to go speak, and obviously they wanted to know, what we're doing, and I outlined that, and I explained to them we're buying drones, and we're buying, and the drones save IDF lives because they can fly the drone in and spot the enemy like they did with Sinwar. I don't know if you saw that, but remember they found Sinwar with a drone, and then they targeted him. But those drones save lives because the IDF doesn't have to go send men in there or women to go find these terrorists. So they just send a drone. And so a lot of our donations have been to buy these drones. So I was explaining that to them, explaining, all that we've done and all that you guys have done in contributing to them. So they were curious. So I explained that. But then I got to the crucial part. And I told them the what, but then I told them the why. And this was important. And I think this is part of what we need to be prepared to say to a lot of them. And this is how I went about it. I said, since I came to faith, I said, I'm a follower of Yeshua. I believe in the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I said, I believe that those covenants that he made to you guys, the Abrahamic, the land, the Davidic, the new covenant, that God's going to fulfill all of them in you. And I said, one day you will be the head of the nations and not the tail. And I said, so when I came to faith, I said, I had an instantaneous love for you. And it's a supernatural thing. And I said, what I have to first preface everything is I have to apologize for what you guys have been through with other interactions with Christians, not only currently, but through the ages of Christendom. And I said, you have the situations of the Crusades, and you have the Reformation that was anti-Semitic. You have, the Spanish Inquisition. You have, what happened in Nazi Germany, and you see now the worldwide anti-Semitism. And I said, let me explain a few things to you. I said, Yeshua gave a parable, and he tried to explain that he would draw out an assembly. And one of the things about, I called it an assembly instead of the church because the church has a bad connotation with Jewish people. So I said, he calls this assembly out. And really, that's what ecclesia means, the called out ones, right? The calling. Anyway, I said, Yeshua, I'm a follower of him, and he's calling this assembly out, okay? Both Jew and Gentile. And what Yeshua said is that the way you want to think about it, he used a parable, and he said it's like a wheat field. And so the farmer goes and sows in the wheat field. And you know this passage, it's the parable of the wheat and tares, right? In Matthew 13. And I said, you know, this is the first time they ever heard this parable, okay? So I'm telling them Matthew 13, okay? And so I said, there's a wheat field, and there's a farmer goes out and scatters good seed into the ground and plants, wheat. But then in the night, an enemy snuck in and planted tares or darnels among the wheat. And so they grew up together. And I go, if you know anything about wheat and darnels, they look the same as they're growing. And when they're both green, they look the same. And I said, in the parable, the servants come to the farmer and say, who did this? Who sowed the wheat, the darnels, the tares among the wheat? Do you want us, he said, an enemy did this. And they go, do you want us to separate them out right now? And he said, no. Let them grow up together. As you know the parable, we'll separate the wheat and the tares at the harvest time. And I explained to them that harvest time is the last days, and harvest time is when the wheat turns this golden brown color and it bows in submission to God. And the darnel during harvest will turn this ugly green, grayish color and stick straight up in its pride. And I said, what you guys have experienced many times are people who claim to be followers of Yeshua, but they are tares among the wheat. And I didn't go into all the specifics of, well, some of these believers have replacement theology, some of these believers, are carnal, some of these are worldly believers. I didn't want to go into that. I just needed to make it simple. I wanted to tell them there's a difference. And Christians that gave you up in the Holocaust, that possibly is a tare among the wheat. And I wanted to let them know that there's a difference. And Yeshua explained the difference. Then I went further and I gave them Matthew 25, the sheep and goat judgment. But the sheep and goat judgment is a commentary by the Messiah adding additional information to Joel chapter 3, which is the judgment of the nations by the Messiah, right, in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Remember that? So I said, you all know Joel chapter 3, the judgment of the Gentile nations, and the judgment is for dividing the land of Israel and treating Israel bad and creating slaves out of Israel, which will all happen in the tribulation, right? And then I said, Yeshua commented on that, and you guys know the passage of the sheep and goat judgment. He says, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me water. When I was in prison, you came and visited me. And the sheep on his right said, when did we see you do this? When did we see this happen? And he comes back and says, when you did it to the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. And that's Micah chapter 5, verse 3. The brethren in the story, in that passage, are a reference to the biological Jews, the remnant of Israel, the biological Jews. And then I gave the opposite. I was in prison and you didn't visit me, and I was sick and you didn't come and help me. I was in prison, you didn't come and visited me. And I said that, and I said the negative aspect. He says, when you didn't do it to the least of these, my brethren, you didn't do it to me. And so it's a pro-Semitic versus anti-Semitic character of the sheep and the goats, right? And I said, so Yeshua explained that that's important to him, that we should love you. And as a follower of Yeshua, that's what I'm commanded to do. And anyway, they had never heard that before. And they asked me afterwards, like, hey, is this a kind of a new movement in Christianity where you have this pro-Israel, pro-Jewish mentality? I said, no. And they go, well, where's it coming from? And I said, well, it's coming from our scriptures, the New Testament. It's Matthew 13, it's Matthew 25. And they looked at me perplexed, and they said, that's in your scriptures? How old is that? And they go, 2,000 years. And they go, well, how come all these years these other Christians don't follow that? If that's in your book, how come they don't follow that? And I said, it's simple. It's because of the parable I gave you, that Yeshua gave. There's tares among the wheat. And unfortunately, there's more tares than there are wheat. And I said, what you have experienced is the people that don't pay attention to those scriptures. They don't abide by them. They take them out of context. They don't read them correctly, right? They don't understand who the brethren are. They think it's some homeless guy on the street, or they think it, some social justice warrior stuff. The brethren are the Jews. And I said, that's the problem. And what that really did is it opened them up to a better understanding of what's really been happening, what's happening currently, what's happened throughout history. And I would advise that if you get to do a conversation like that with a Jewish person, first, you've got to earn the right to be heard when you witness to Jewish people. That's important. You have to have a relationship with them, and they have to see that you're for them, and a tangible evidence that you're for them. You got to befriend them, And here's the other thing. You're not trying to make them into an evangelical. What we want them to do is we want to honor their heritage. We're not asking them to leave their heritage. We want them to accept Yeshua as their Messiah, but we don't ask them to leave their heritage. Their Jewish heritage is very important. And what a lot of them have told me is in the past that Christians would approach them and basically demand that they leave their Jewish heritage. And that's the wrong move. We want to celebrate that heritage, and if they accept Yeshua, they become a completed Jewish person. Because Jesus is Jewish. He's not asking them to leave their Jewish heritage. And so, you got to be real careful in how you witness about that. And just making sure you use the right terminology, and you don't use the word church. Use the word assembly, right? Remember, when you're dealing with people that or religious Jews, they don't pronounce God's name. They say Hashem, which means the name. You got to use that term. So you got to know how to walk through this very carefully and understand you need to earn the right to be heard. And I think if we continue to do this, God's going to give us more opportunities. And I just wanted to give you that update and show you what I did. And did anyone convert to Christianity? No. But I think seeds were planted, some were watered, and we continued to have this dialogue and this conversation. And, they'll remember this. They'll remember that who were these specific Christians, these Gentiles that loved us and did all these things for us and evidenced their love, demonstrated their love by protecting our lives. Who were they and what were they? They'll remember that. And even if they don't get saved now, let's say the rapture happens today, they'll still remember it in tribulation. They'll remember it because of Moses, and Elijah will be on the ground. You will have the 144,000 Jewish witnesses will be on the ground, and they will remember what we did for them and what we said and why. And so I want to encourage you, if you know anybody that's Jewish, reach out to them today. Take them to coffee, take them to breakfast, take them to lunch, do something, and earn the right to be heard. Befriend them so that they can trust you, so that there will come a time where you can share with them. But they've got to see that you love them. They've got to see your love in action, and that's important. So I want to thank all of you guys for contributing to help Israel, because it is opening doors. There's no doubt about it, and you guys have been part of that. And so the rewards we will get, you will get, because you have contributed to buying drones and buying the bulletproof vests, the helmets, and all that stuff. And the whole goal in all this is to share the gospel of Yeshua with his Jewish people and see that they get saved. So anyway, that's the update. Wanted to give you that information. Thank you, and we will continue to do the work for Israel. We'll continue to support them, and hopefully be able to plant more, be able to water more, and hopefully see a harvest come from that. So anyway, God bless you. See you next time.